Happy Easter! Today we celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And the theme that I want to draw out from our readings are God the Father's power. That God the Father is almighty. So in the Creed we say, I believe in God, the Father, the Almighty. And what I want to show is just how great the power of our God is. Like one common Christian song from back in the day, our God is an awesome God who reigns from heaven and earth. And so I want to start with, today we're celebrating the resurrection. I want to go back to the beginning of Jesus' life, where Jesus becomes a child, an infant, and he's born in Bethlehem. And from the very beginning of his life is in danger. So we see that there are the three kings, and they're traveling over, following the Star of Bethlehem. And as they're passing through Israel to Bethlehem, they cross paths with King Herod. And King Herod inquires to where they're going, and they say, we're going to pay homage, to honor, to worship the King of the Jews, the newborn King of the Jews. And King Herod's a king, and he thinks he's the King of the Jews. And so he doesn't like that. And he says, okay, well, and King Herod was an evil, wicked guy. And so he tricks them. He says, go down and come back and tell me where he is so that I too can go and pay homage. Did he want to pay homage to Jesus? No, he didn't. He wanted to kill him. But that's what he tells them. And so they go down there, and they and they bring gold, frankincense, and myrrh. We see the gold because gold is a gift worthy of a king. We see frankincense because frankincense is incense, and it's a gift worthy of a priest, and Jesus is our high priest. And we see myrrh, which is used in the burial of a body. So we already see at the beginning of his life a gift pointing to his future death and resurrection. And God warns the three kings in a dream. He says, don't go back to King Herod, but go back by a different route. And in time, Herod realizes that his trickery has been outsmarted. And that the kings weren't going to come back to him because they hadn't. And in a rage, he sends down soldiers down to Bethlehem to kill all the infants under the age of 2, which we celebrate sometime after Christmas, the Feast of the Holy Innocents, which is a celebration of the martyrdoms of each of those infants who died in the place of Christ. And the reason why Jesus' life was saved was not only because the Magi were warned in a dream, but because St. Joseph had been warned in a dream by an angel to bring the child and his mother and himself to Egypt because the child's life was in danger. And that's what St. Joseph did as a faithful father who was imaging for us the image of God the Father. He defends his child, and he drops everything that he's doing, and he moves to a foreign land where he has no work set up, and he's got no family or connections in the area. And he works very hard in a humble life to support his family and to defend them in this foreign land. Okay, so we not only see Jesus' life threatened at the beginning of his life, but we also see his life threatened at the beginning of his public ministry, around the age of 30, when he was ministering in his hometown of Nazareth. And in his sermon, in his homily, the people were struck by the power of his words. And they said, who is this, the son of Joseph? Isn't this the son of Joseph? Where did he get all this? And then Jesus says, prophets are rejected in their home places. And they took offense at the words that Jesus said to them. And they drove him out of the synagogue to the brow of a hill to throw him down headlong. They wanted to kill him. But it says, the last verse of that story says, but he passed through their midst. So you have the mob mentality. You have the frenzy of the people driving Jesus to the brow of the hill to kill him, and then miraculously he just passes through their midst. Why? Well, because it wasn't his hour to die. Because God is more powerful than human beings are. God is more powerful than a king, King Herod. God is more powerful than a mob. And we also see at another instance of Jesus' life where he's preaching about to the people in the temple, and he's surrounded by people who are the authorities, and the authorities hated Jesus. And Jesus, and they want to kill him. And Jesus says, for which of these good works are you killing me? For which of the miracles I do in my Father's name are you killing me? And they say, we're not stoning you because of a good work. We're stoning you because you, a man, are making yourself out to be God. And so they pick up stones to stone him to death. They probably leave the temple area to pick up the stones. And by the time that some of them probably left to pick them up. And by the time they come back, Jesus has already left the temple. And we see again an instance where Jesus' life is in danger, and yet God, because God is almighty and all powerful, Jesus' life was spared. Which leads us to today, Resurrection Sunday, the good news of Easter. And just a few days ago, on Good Friday and Holy Thursday, we celebrated Jesus' passion and death. And this is significant because our lives aren't going to be void of suffering. We see that it was God the Father's will that Jesus suffer, his son. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus prayed on his knees for 3 hours, or 3 times. He prays, Father, not my will, take this cup away from me. Take this chalice of suffering away from me. Because he could see the suffering of Calvary before him, and as any of us would be, because of our human nature, we would recoil from that. We don't want that. And Jesus didn't want it either. Because he was human. He was God, but he took on human flesh, and he became actually a human being. Which is why he would be so afraid. But he says in his prayer, not my will, but your will be done, to the Father. The Father's will be done. And Jesus was obedient to the point of death on a cross. And if that was the end of the story, this would be a story of injustice, because Jesus was the just man killed out of false accusations by the authorities. But that's not the end of the story, because God, the Father, the Almighty, has power not only over kings, King Herod, more power not only than Ahmad, but God the Father has power even over the enemy, Satan, sin, and death. Not even death can hold him back. And so that gives us great hope, great joy as Christians, because no matter what we face in life, God is more powerful than that. And that is what we celebrate today on Easter Sunday, as we celebrate the power of the Father through the resurrection. Amen.